Well, desperate Australians are losing billions to poker machines during this cost of living crisis. 14.5 billion to be precise. It's a headline that shocked a lot of us. On Friday, the most powerful union movement in New South Wales launched a new assault against poker machines, demanding the government cut the number of pokies by at least 25,000 over the next 5 years. But is it now time to go a step further? Our question to the jury: should poker machines be banned? Joining me now is Independent MP for Murray, Helen Dalton, who wants pokies banned, and Brian Marlow, President of the Australian Taxpayers Alliance, a libertarian against nanny state intervention and regulation. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us this evening. Helen, we'll start with you. Why do you think it is time to ban pokies once and for all?
Well, poker machines are not just harmless fun. They are addictive, and we know that. We know that there's a part of the brain that's really receptive, like cocaine, and of course people get in that way where they start to play the poker machines regularly, and then after 40% of people will become addicted to poker machines if they are a regular user to begin with. So there are about 91,000 poker machines in New South Wales, and I believe it's more like 12 billion that Australians lose to gambling every year. $12 billion, it's huge. And of course, we know the fallout for gambling with broken marriages, kids on welfare, suicide, all of those things, financial, of course, crime as well. And of course, the volunteers in our communities are there to pick up the pieces and try and put their lives back together again.
Brian, as Helen just said, I mean, it's destroying lives, but why don't you think it should be banned?
Yeah, so I think to Helen's point, I agree that gambling definitely has a lot of negative impacts in the community. The question is, how do you actually fix those negative impacts, and how do you help the people that are affected? I don't think that bans are the way that you actually help these people. I have people in my family who have had substance abuse issues, alcoholism issues. You don't ban alcohol because alcoholics exist. You create an environment where you can actually help these people, create an environment where they feel okay seeking help and go out there to the community to try and deal with their addictions. I'm all for trying to regulate these industries. I'm all for trying to, prevent some of those perverse outcomes. But bans simply don't work. Prohibition doesn't work. What you do is you drive issues underground, and then you have very scary people working in organised crime that are more than happy to target these people who are addicted, and will go way further than what we've seen gambling companies do. And that's not a defence of gambling companies. That's just a real world sort of analysis of what's happening.
Right. Helen, do you think we should just be focusing on harm minimisation as opposed to just an outright ban?
Look, I think any step is a step forward, but really we've got more poker machines here in Australia than anywhere else. We've got something like 0.05% of the population, and yet we have 20% of the world's poker machines. So, and of course, you're talking about getting help for those people that are addicted. In my part of the world, which is Western New South Wales, we don't have those counsellors. We don't have those assistants.
So there needs to be investment in that space. Absolutely. You'll get no disagreement from me at all. The question is, should we ban it? Should we drive this issue underground? People who have gambling addictions are addicts. They will not stop unless they are provided help. It's the same with alcoholics. They will not stop unless they're provided help. We do not ban alcohol because alcoholics exist. They tried that in America. We ended up giving money to the mafia, and they ended up killing people on the streets. In Australia, we have the world's most expensive cigarettes. Now, it's not a ban, but we've regulated cigarettes to the point that there are now firebombings and shootings over turf wars over the sale of illegal tobacco. So this isn't an argument to say, gambling's amazing and we should roll out there. How do you help the people that are negatively impacted by this? And I don't think that bans are the way forward.
Well, let's go to the jury. Dana, do you think we should ban pokies altogether?
Well, absolutely. My marriage is 17 years and my family was absolutely destroyed by gambling. Wow. And I don't think people really understand the human cost. And it leads to a lying and cheating environment and poverty and bankruptcy, and it's just absolutely devastating.
Yeah, absolutely. Therese, what about you? What's been your experience with gambling?
I know a lot of gamblers, both on poker machines, online gambling, lotto, you name it. There's a lot of access to gambling. Just as there is drugs, alcohol, there's a lot of vices in this world that can destroy gambling. But do we really need to live in this nanny state where people can't do anything? I mean, most people would probably put $50 in the pokies socially or whatever. And yes, there are problem gamblers, but they do need help. But to punish everybody and to make it even more of a nanny state, you know, soon we won't be able to have any fun doing anything.
Helen, just on that, do you think we risk becoming a nanny state?
Look, I don't think so. I think the harm that poker machines do is just exponential in our communities. It's just out of control.
But that's a very sort of top-down approach, which is that the government is your parent and that they can basically just drop a regulation and will fix issues and they'll all disappear. Now, we know that doesn't happen. There are countries, if we want to look at alcohol as an example, there are countries that aren't as stringent on the regulations of alcohol as we are in this country, but they don't have binge drinking issues. And the reason for that is because there's a societal expectation that people don't go out there and get hammered. And there should be a societal expectation that people don't go out there and gamble their savings away. And if they do, we should provide help for them. I have friends who have gambling issues. They don't feel like there's a proper support network out there.
All right, you've both had your say on this difficult topic. It's now time to call on the jury. Jury, we need your verdict. Should poker machines be banned?
Really good point. He made a really good point. You need to put support in for people.
Time is up. What is the jury's verdict? OK, we've got 3 yeses. The rest of you know. The majority believe that we should not ban pokies. Charlotte, why yes?
So I think so many great points were made on both sides, and I really appreciate that you brought up kind of how banning them alone won't help, because I do agree that it won't solve the whole issue, and that there 100% should also be intervention for people who have addictions. And I think we need to treat addiction more as an illness than just as something that people fall into. I don't think, though, pokies specifically, however, really have any benefit other than making rich people a lot of money off exploiting people's illness. There are other forms of gambling that are more recreational and more social that can, you know, have certain benefits, I guess, like a social benefit. But pokies alone, you're just sitting pulling a stick. It's not really adding any value.
Yeah, no, look, that's absolutely a fair point. Look, it's a good debate and one that's obviously been brought up in New South Wales this week alone. Helen, Dalton and Brian Marlow, great to be with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have a problem with gambling, help is available. Contact Lifeline 13 11 14 or Gamblers Anonymous, www.gaaustralia.org.au or Gamble Aware 1800 858 858.